Attention all shoppers, attention all shoppers.
I'm Dan and welcome back to the 80's Emporium, your one-stop shop for everything 80s. I'm currently here at the Sherman Oaks Galleria in Los Angeles, California. The Galleria is now an outdoor shopping center, but up until 1999 it was your typical indoor mall. And not just any mall. The Sherman Oaks Galleria is perhaps the most famous mall in movie history. It was the filming location for at least 7 different movies in the 80s alone. The birthplace of the American Mall, at least how we know it today, was not in sunny California, but in chilly Minnesota. In 1956, the Southdale Center opened to the public, offering not only a brand new shopping experience, but a place to escape from the brutally cold Minnesota weather. Since then, the number of malls skyrocketed to 2,500 in the 1980s. In the 80s, the mall had grown from a shopping convenience to a defining element of American culture. Mall-goers, especially young people, would spend hours shopping, exploring, dining in food courts, skating, movie-going, jazzercising, and many could even be found working behind the counter. In 80s movies, the mall's inhabitants included time-traveling heroes, mad scientists, man-babies, stalkers, assassins, mercenaries, car chases, serial killers, crime lords, talking mannequins, killer robots, phantoms, and more.
This is gonna be wonderful! You won't regret this.
So let's take a trip down memory lane to the glory days of the mall in the 1980s. It's impossible to talk about 80s mall movies without mentioning one of the most iconic comedies of the decade. Fast Times at Ridgemont High spends much of its runtime at the titular high school, but Ridgemont Mall plays a major role from the very beginning. The film opens with a mall montage featuring all the major staples, including a cookie shop, a clothing store, a food court, an arcade, the theater that Brian Backer ushers at, All-American Burger, where Brad Hamilton works, and Perry's Pizza, employer of Jennifer Jason Leigh and Phoebe Cates. If you look closely, you can spot some recognizable brand names, such as Hallmark, Florsheim Shoes, Licorice Pizza, and Hot Dog on a Stick. The comedy was filmed at the Sherman Oaks Galleria during evenings when the mall was closed. In the zany time travel comedy Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure, Keanu Reeves and Alex Winter bring the famous people that they've abducted from history to the San Dimas Mall to teach them about modern-day life.
This is the San Dimas Mall, and this is where people of today's world hang out.
The unusual visitors are turned loose on the unsuspecting public, as Beethoven finds Yamaha pianos, Genghis Khan goes to a sporting goods store, Lincoln finds a portrait studio, Joan of Arc leads jazzercise, and Sigmund Freud discovers a place that seems to be an obvious reference to Hot Dog on a Stick. Of course he does.
You all seem to be suffering from a mild form of hysteria.
They're eventually pursued by mall security, some through the Metro Ice Palace skating rink, and brought in to the police station. Making cameos in this mall are Foot Locker, Dulce's, Paul Johnson Jewelers, Pizza Amore, Polar Bar, County Seat, CPI Photo Finish, Wow Wow's World, The Jewel Chest, Baker's, Casual Corner, and New Jade. Bill and Ted was mostly shot in Arizona, and the shopping center location is the Metro Center Mall, located in Phoenix. That ice skating rink closed in 1990, a few months after the film's release, and the mall closed for good in 2020 after 47 years of business. Prior to the mall's closure, the Metro Center hosted a farewell celebration, which featured a screening of Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure. You may not know it, but Valley Girl is actually a loose adaptation of Romeo and Juliet. In fact, a theater sign for Romeo and Juliet appears in the background of this scene. This rom-com revolves around Deborah Foreman's Valley Girl, who falls for a city kid, played by Nicolas Cage. Valley Girl was both a critical and box office success. The mall, which appears mostly at the beginning of the film, is the Del Amo Fashion Center, which is located in Torrance, California, and is still in operation to this day. Stores you can spot here include Mia Fiore, The Limited, Chick-fil-A, Bandy Barbecue, Filet Mignon, and Hot Dog on a Stick. If the mall looks familiar, that's because it's also a major location in Quentin Tarantino's Jackie Brown. It's also featured in Bad Santa and Euphoria. While the teens never hang out at the Sherman Oaks Galleria, you can actually spot a sign for the mall toward the end of the movie. For more on Valley Girl, Fast Times, and Bill and Ted, be sure to watch our episode on 80s high school movies. Golden 80's, released in the US under the title Window Shopping, was directed by famous Belgian filmmaker Chantal Akerman. The 1986 Belgian musical comedy follows the lives of a number of mall employees. The ensemble piece never focuses on any one character, and nearly the entire movie is spent in the microcosm that is the mall. It's a significant departure from the avant-garde and feminist movies that Akerman was known for, but the film received mostly positive reviews. Golden 80's was filmed on a set in Paris, where Akerman rebuilt the Galerie Toussaint d'Or, which is a real-life mall located in Brussels, Belgium. The shopping center has been around since 1959 and is still open to this day. The 1987 film Walk Like a Man follows Howie Mandel, playing a man who was quite literally raised by wolves, as he attempts to return to society after 20 years in the wilderness. In an attempt to give Howie a nice afternoon, Amy Steele attempts to take him to where else? But at the mall, Howie struggles with escalators, elevators, dressing rooms, and general etiquette. Walk Like a Man received below average reviews, and it was not a success at the box office. It was the final film directed by 5-time Oscar nominee Melvin Frank, who was a co-writer on 1974's A Touch of Class, as well as 1954's White Christmas. This scene also takes place at the Sherman Oaks Galleria and features a number of classic 80s stores, such as Robinson's, Mayco, Pappagallo Women's Boutique, Martin Lawrence Galleries, Video Concepts, Casual Corner, and Joyce Selby Shoes.
These crutches, you can have them. Hey!
If you're enjoying this video, the best way to support our channel is to head to our online shop, shop.80semporium.com, and get some of our exclusive 80s merch that you won't find anywhere else. Another mall plays a key role in Joe Dante's 1987 sci-fi comedy Innerspace, a movie loosely based on 1966's Fantastic Voyage. The good guys invent a way to shrink a man down to microscopic size, but when bad guys attempt to seize control of the technology, an injured scientist is forced to hide the evidence by injecting it into the body of Martin Short. This scene was filmed in Los Angeles at the Northridge Fashion Center, which was given the fictional name Santa Clara Fashion Square for the movie. Only 7 years later, the mall would suffer severe damage from the infamous Northridge earthquake of 1994. But the mall underwent 3 renovations and remains active to this day. Have you seen the 2020 Netflix musical The Prom? That was also filmed at the Northridge Fashion Center. Innerspace was mildly successful, but was poorly marketed. According to director Joe Dante, it did much better in VHS sales. Innerspace is also notable, as it was the first film to feature future couple Dennis Quaid and Meg Ryan, although they wouldn't become an item until shooting DOA the following year. Perhaps the most celebrated time travel movie of all time is 1985's Back to the Future. Christopher Lloyd's Doc Brown needs a large area to test out his DeLorean time machine, and what better place than an empty mall parking lot? In a fun Easter egg for observant viewers, the mall is called Twin Pines Mall when we see it at the beginning. When Marty McFly travels to the past, we realize the site of Twin Pines Mall was once a place called Twin Pines Ranch. In an attempt to escape the angry ranch owner's shotgun, Marty subsequently runs over one of 2 pine trees that gave the ranch its name. And when Marty returns to 1985, the mall now has a different name. The real mall, located in the City of Industry, is called Puente Hills Mall and is still in operation today, although it no longer has the JCPenney or Robinson's stores. Over the past 6 years, the mall has been declining in popularity, and Macy's, which had been there since 1974, vacated the premises in 2022. The Blues Brothers features one of the most iconic mall scenes in film history, where Dan Aykroyd and John Belushi drive a police car through a Toys R Us.
Would there be anything else?
Yes, do you have a Miss Piggy?
The wacky chase then continues for several minutes through the mall. Among the victims of the hilarious chase are stores selling formal wear, pastries, instruments, dresses, records, newspapers, t-shirts, artwork, as well as Oldsmobile, Pier 1 Imports, Jewel Grocery Store, and JCPenney.
The place has got everything.
This scene was parodied in an early episode of Family Guy.
Peter, what the hell are you doing?
Lois, trust me. How many times have I done this before?
All right, but be careful.
As to how the film was able to drive through and destroy parts of a mall, that's easy. Dixie Square Mall had actually shuttered its doors 1 year earlier. Director John Landis rented the space for 8 weeks to film the famous scene in 1979 and used set decoration to make the stores look inhabited again. While JCPenney was an actual former tenant of the property, many of the stores involved in the scene, including Toys R Us, were never actually at that mall. Universal was required to return the location back to its original condition after filming. The filmmakers were accused of leaving much of the mall in disrepair, but the mall never reopened. Dixie Square Mall in Harvey, Illinois was finally demolished in 2012 after 34 years of attempts to save it.
They broke my watch.
The vast majority of malls in the US are centered around a big store called an anchor, usually a department store. And a staple of all department stores is the Mannequin. In the wacky 1987 rom-com Mannequin, Andrew McCarthy is a mannequin sculptor who discovers that one of his creations has come to life.
What's the matter? Don't you like your new scarf?
Not especially.
Kim Cattrall plays Emmy the Mannequin, and Estelle Getty, Meshack Taylor, and G.W. Bailey round out the main cast. The theme song, Nothing's Gonna Stop Us Now by Starship, was perhaps the film's greatest success, as the song reached #1 on the Billboard Hot 100 and was nominated for Best Original Song at the Oscars, Grammys, and Golden Globes. A sequel was created in 1991 that takes place in the same store, but stars almost an entirely new cast. It was a flop and poorly rated. Mannequin and its sequel were filmed at Wanamaker's department store in Philadelphia, the flagship location for the now defunct brand. Founded in 1861, the building was declared a National Historic Landmark in 1978. And a few elements of the original still exist in that location, such as the Crystal Tea Room restaurant and the Wanamaker organ, the largest working organ in the world. It is now a Macy's. Alright, that's it for now, but keep an eye out for part 2 of our 80s Mall Movies episode, where we'll cover the action-packed Commando, erotic thriller Body Double, horror sci-fi Chopping Mall, and more. In the meantime, let us know your favorites from our list. Don't forget to give us a thumbs up and smash that subscribe button. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.